Watch Symposium. I'm Austin. This is part 3 of Simon's collection review. If you haven't seen part 1 or 2, link in the description. And if you want to see the man himself, Simon, link in the description to a video we shot together when he was here in Tokyo. All right, so Simon has some Omegas. He's got some Seikos. We're going to be looking at, well, near 20 watches right now. Okay, so let's go through and start with Omega. He says, Omega is the last letter of the Greek alphabet and symbolizes accomplishment and perfection. Yes. All right, number 1, Speedmaster Professional Moon Watch, 44 millimeter, 2015, coaxial, automatic, full set. He paid $4,000 for that. And he says, my running watch. Interesting. Okay, you run with it. Yeah, why not? Roger Smith, watchmaker, says it's bulletproof and wears one himself, so that's good enough for me. Formula racing is a passion of mine, and I love the space program, so that's also why I am drawn to the Speedmaster. This is a big watch, 44 millimeters, and yep, it's got the coaxial, and so that's nice. And yeah, 4,000 for, you know, really high quality chronograph. There's a lot of bang for buck in Omega. Just resale is, I think, the issue that a lot of people have with it. Number 2, Speedmaster Matter Date, 40 millimeter, 2005, full set. Paid $2,000 for this. Great prices you can get some vintage Omega for, neo vintage in this case. Or number 3, this vintage Speedmaster Day Date, 40 millimeters from 1975, the year before I was born. Full set for 2,000 USD, and you can see these watches right here. They, you know, one of them is the one in the foreground is got that retro look to it, pretty cool. And yeah, the one in the back with those white dials, that's a beautiful watch. All right, so Omega Seamaster. I went on holiday to Istanbul with my friend when we were young, and we went to an old bazaar flea market, and he found an old Seamaster and made a huge fuss about buying it for next to nothing. And this stuck in my mind and made an impression on me. I cannot remember all the prices I have paid, from a few $100s to a few $1,000s. All steel watches are on original bracelet, which is important as Thailand is so hot and sweaty. Straps are too sticky to wear and also wear out very quickly. And yes, let's look at number 1. Seamaster Professional Blue Wavy Dial Diver 300 Master Chronometer New. And I think Matt Stevens has this watch, and it's a 42 millimeter watch, and it's a high quality, beautiful watch. Nothing wrong with that at all. Just a great, you know, daily wearer. A little too big for me and a little too heavy, but quality watch for sure. Number 2, Seamaster from Granddad, 1970s, and we've seen this in the first video. It's a beautiful watch. Your granddad had great taste, so that's awesome. And yeah, don't get me started on granddad's watches. I just love the idea of inheriting a watch, you know, because it's such an awesome symbol of a man. Number 3, Seamaster Big Crown Blue Dial, 1969, 37 millimeter, very pretty and elegant. Number 4, Seamaster 1970s Cosmic 2000. I love the minimalist dial. That is beautiful. And wow, 1970s, and that looks like a really good size. And yeah, that's a beautiful watch. I mean, it reminds me of the kind of the first Seamaster 300s. And yeah, that's a beautiful watch. It looks modern, actually. It looks like a modern watch. All right, number 5 and 6. These are the Seamaster 200, 41 millimeter in 1970s Poppy. Oh, that's a cool nickname. I love nicknames. And Simon writes, I was once an opium addict, so had to have this. And the Seamaster 200, 41 millimeter, 1970s Banana. We have a saying here in Thailand, cheeky monkey like big banana. Very interesting watches, very similar to one another. I think it's the really the dials that are different. And yeah, both interesting. I love cool nicknames, and so the Poppy is my pick there. And it's got a cool backstory with, you know, the opium addiction, and it's just a beautiful watch. That's, I gotta be honest, I'll tell you right now, that's one of my favorites of your Omegas. Along with your Pogue, which we're going to get to. All right, number 7, Seamaster Big Yellow, Jumbo, 42 millimeters, 1970s. Love this watch with its yellow bezel. This is a watch that works well in a big collection. For some reason, yellow, just a little yellow goes a long way, I think. And so I wouldn't want this as my only watch, but it is a pretty watch. Kind of reminds me of, what is that? That Tudor North Flag. You know, it's got yellow going on. All right. It's just yellow, that's all. That's the only thing that reminds me of the North Flag. Okay, but number 8, Seamaster Chronostop, large case, 1960s. All right, number 9, Seamaster 120 date, 31 millimeter from the 1960s. Wears bigger than 31 millimeters, delicate old diver, but works perfectly. Interesting. So yeah, 31 millimeter watch. I think one of my grandfather's watches is around 31 millimeters, and yeah, it's a little too small for me, so but that's good that it wears bigger. Number 10, Seamaster DeVille automatic 34 millimeter 9 carat, I believe that's what that means. Solid gold dress watch, 1967. Omega solid gold 34 millimeter manual 1950s dress watch. Omega 18 carat rose gold automatic 35 millimeter dress watch, 1950, and Omega 18 karat gold 35 millimeter 1950s chronograph caliber 321 Seamaster. And number 14, an Omega gold 1947 cosmic month day date jumbo complication 37.5 millimeters. It's beautiful, and it reminds me of those old Rolexes. I forget what they're called, but you know, if this was a Rolex, this would be worth premium. Wow, it'd be worth a massive amount of money. But it probably, you know, still is quite valuable. It's a beautiful watch, and yeah, it's interesting. I don't know who started that aesthetic, but it looks like those older Rolex watches, you know, with the month and the day, and you know, when Rolexes were really packing in the functions. That's a beautiful watch. All right, and okay, let me talk a little bit about his collection. So I think the two that really, or the one that stands out to me is the Poppy. I think that's beautiful. And look, his modern Omegas are kind of nice to have. Of course, his grandfather's watch. The ones that really don't speak to me are the older 1950s kind of grandfather watches. You know, they're small. Servicing them can be a pain. I can't see, you know, wanting to wear those very often, but you know, they're nice quality watches. Don't get me wrong. It's just that I wouldn't buy any more of them, put it that way. But some of these 70s, you know, the banana and the Poppy, very cool. But the Poppy, that's my favorite of your Omegas. There's something really cool about that watch. Cool nickname, cool connection to you. And it's just a beautiful watch. I mean, I love that little bit of red. It kind of reminds me of, you know, the Coke in some way, the GMT Coke. And I love that color scheme, just black with just a little bit of red. And that's a beautiful watch. So your Poppy is probably my favorite of your Omegas. Of course, your grandfather's blue-dialed Seamaster. That's beautiful, special to have. As far as your Speedmasters go, I think the two Speedmasters here are beautiful. I like the retro look of the one in the foreground, but I really like the one in the background. I think the white subdial's beautiful. I think that's special. Okay, so I think that one in the back right there with the white subdial's special. The Poppy, very special. I would take good care of those, and you know, I don't know, they just, some watches speak to you, some don't. Those are the two that popped out, and just, yeah, really nice watches. All of these are nice. All of these are nice. And you've got some modern Omegas and you know, your modern Seamaster and your modern Speedmaster. Those are nice and wearable. So yeah, it's a quality, well-rounded Omega collection. All right, just watch those old grandfather watches. I wouldn't get any more of those, unless you want to, you know. All right, let's move on to his Seikos. Seiko, Japanese word meaning exquisite or success. Seiko is prominent here in Asia, so is not to be ignored, and represents great value and some fascinating vintage pieces. They feel, look, and work great. I intend to get a few more, as when I come across them, when I come across them. I ski in the Japanese Alps twice a year, so that is why I had to have an alpinist. And he has an old alpinist, and this is really interesting. That could be kind of collectible. And he also has a more modern alpinist that he bought in Tokyo for 500 USD. I think it was a little expensive. I think I saw one, well, after they discontinued them, but this was an old one in a store, new old stock, and it was, I want to say it was less than 300 USD, but you know, in the watch world, 300, 500, it's not, you're splitting hairs here. That's sort of a drop in the bucket in terms of watch money. I think if you want to continue and get more alpinists, I think the white dial, just like the green dial you have here, but they made one with a white dial with that inner rotating compass. That's a beautiful one. So and one on a metal bracelet. I would try to source one of those if you wanted to. He's got a Seiko 1976 Seiko Pogue chronograph. Bought it for 500 USD. That's a great price, and those have become really popular, and it's a beautiful watch. I love the Pogue. I love the dial. Love the function. It's probably one of my favorite Seikos, period. And you know, I was telling Simon that the actual Pogue, the real Pogue that went to space, sold in 2008 for less than 6,000 USD. So that was some good buying. I think at the time, people probably would have said thousands for an old Seiko, but you know, it would go for a lot more now. So it's a beautiful watch. Number 4, Seiko Bullhead 1970s Chrono 24. I bought that at Chrono 24 for $500. And number 5, the Bellmatic 1970s mint condition. Bought that on eBay. That's a really cool watch. I've thought about getting a Bellmatic just because the idea of an analog alarm is kind of cool, but probably never will. But that's a beautiful watch as well. All right, so an interesting mini Seiko collection. Now, he has a couple questions. What do you think of Omega? All right, well, I think Omega make great watches, quality watches. I love the watches. As far as the company goes, I think they pimp out their watches a little too much, and I think it's bad for their watches. So I think if you love Omega watches, you might not agree so much with the way Omega, the company, handles their watches. Right. What Seiko do you like the most or think is the best, not including GS? Oh, I think the Pogue. I think you've got an awesome vintage Seiko. A lot of people like the, I'm going to mess up the reference number, but I want to say it's the 6201, but it's the one that was in Apocalypse Now, right? Martin Sheen wore it. And, you know, they're doing a reissue of that. I think the reissue is too expensive. And I think an original, you know, they sell for like $2,000 for like an old beat up one. I think that's crazy. So, you know, some people would say that's the route to go, but you know, everybody who is selling old Seikos, I mean, look, the way you sell an old watch, this is sort of the way you do it. Rare, one of a kind. You can't get this. And, you know, it's discontinued. And it's sort of playing off that fear of missing out, right? You're not going to find a model like this condition. This is the last, one of the best. And I think people price Seiko watches a little high. I think they're playing that game, you know, and for $2,000 for one of those old Apocalypse Now Seikos, I just, you know, beat to hell. Come on, that's ridiculous. But again, people would say the same thing. Crazy money for these old, you know, Rolex watches from the 50s, you know, these old sports watches. So I get it. I mean, if you're a Seiko fan, it totally makes sense. You know, a $2,000 beat up original, you know, Apocalypse Now Seiko, it's like, yeah, I mean, that's like my dream watch. So it really depends. If you love a brand, it makes sense. If you don't, you can kind of see the idiocy of it. You know, I love Rolex, so obviously the idea of paying out the nose for a G&T Master 2 16760 that they only made for 5 years. The fat lady. It's like, yeah, of course. It's like, good buy-in, man. Who wouldn't, right? But to a non-Rolex fan, it's just like, why do you buy that piece of junk? Well, I look at Seikos a lot like that. Like, why are people paying money for this kind of stuff? So I'm biased towards Rolex. I'm unaffected by the idea of buying Seikos. But anyway, to make a long response short, your Pogue's great. So, all right, so we'll end with this. How many is enough, he asks. Well, depends on your watch philosophy. I mean, the more the better, or less is more. If you ask me, how many is enough? One good watch. I mean, I'm a one watch guy at heart, and so one good watch, I think, is where it's at. Easier said than done. I know it. But, you know, I think a lot of us are looking for that perfect watch, that soulmate of a watch that just obliterates the desire for other watches. And I found it. It's the GMT Master 2 for me, the 16710. But here's the thing. It never obliterates the desire, because there's always a watch that looks a little bit different, or has another function, or does something else, or, you know, there's some variation that is going to sway you and tempt you. And, you know, even the man who's found his soulmate probably looks at other women and says, if only, if only. I know I got a good thing, just like I know I've got a good thing with the GMT Master 2. But that doesn't mean I'm not tempted. And, you know, I think horological monogamy is really hard. It's really hard. So how much is enough? How many is enough? One's enough. But, you know, I don't practice what I preach, do I? All right. And so he ends with this. So happy you are doing this channel, Austin, and especially from Japan, as I visit 2 or 3 times per year and enjoy shopping in Tokyo. So being able to join you and trawl through the different watch shops is a blessing, and recommend anyone who is able to do it should do the same. It's a great experience. Thank you, Simon. It was a great experience for me as well. It was great meeting you. Got a beautiful collection. All right. Got a beautiful collection. And it's a massive collection. And yeah, I mean, a lot of people would say just sit back and enjoy what you've created. But again, we always want to move. We always want to shake things up. And going forward, I hope you'll consider vintage pieces, unique pieces, pieces with provenance. And if not, you know, you got a great collection. And I would also think about going with other brands. I mean, Patek, VC, AP. You know, there's a lot of brands, and, you know, if you've got the money, I think perhaps you owe it to yourself to just purchase one of those watches from each brand. See what it's like. That's education right there. I kind of think anybody who has the means sort of owes it to themselves to experience what those watches are like. You know, not all of us can. So if you're in a position to, why not? You know, just pick up one Patek. It could change the trajectory of your collecting, and you know, change you for the better. So that's another route you might want to go. Thanks again for coming to Japan. Thanks for the collection review. And guys, let Simon know what you think about his Omega watches, his Seiko watches, his Rolex watches, and what should he get next? What should he do? Help him going forward. Be sure to like this video, subscribe, throw a comment in the comment section, share it, and have a great day. Thanks for watching. Take care, and I'll see you next time.